Welcome to Working for Women, the Independent Women's Forum podcast, where we are changing the conversation about women and public policy for the better.
Hi, I'm Amber Schwartz, Executive Vice President of the Independent Women's Forum. Welcome to IWF's Working for Women podcast. I'm joined by my colleague, Carrie Lucas, who's the president of IWF, and today we are going to take a few moments to discuss, of all things, the U.S. Postal Service. Now, that may seem like somewhat of a dry topic, but believe me, it does affect all of us, and Carrie is passionate about the need to reform it. So just to kick things off quickly, welcome to the call, Carrie.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, a lot of folks listening probably saw the president tweeted on December 29th, and I'm just going to quote him real quick to kick this off. He said, why is the United States Post Office, which is losing many billions of dollars a year while charging Amazon and others so little to deliver their packages, making Amazon richer and the post office dumber and poorer, should be charging much more? Now, on the surface, that might make sense. The post office is, in fact, losing billions of dollars a year. Carrie, you just wrote a recent article about this in Forbes, saying that they lost $2.7 billion alone in 2017 on $72 billion in revenue. Can you take a moment and just tell us why you think they're losing so much money? Obviously, that's pretty astounding.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think that the post office, when we hear a $2.7 billion loss, you're thinking, what is going on? But that's actually pretty good news for the post office. The post office has been losing billions of dollars, many times tens of billions of dollars for a decade. It's been in really bad financial shape. So it's actually doing a little bit better. And one of the reasons is because it has gotten into this delivery business, this package delivery business. And I think if, we think about how things have changed in recent times, just even in the last 10 years, where increasingly everyone's turning to email. You now often have options when it comes to getting your paying bills for things like the regular services you have, or monthly contracts, or cable bills. More and more of us are going online. We have automatic bill pay. We don't want to wait for something to come in the mail, have to write a check and stick a stamp on it. All that's going online, which is good news for all of us. It makes kind of life easier and takes a step out of the process of taking care of those mundane tasks. One of the big losers in that is the post office, which has had a precipitous decline in the amount of first-class mail, which is kind of their bread and butter. So they've had to look for other ways to make up for that lost revenue, and one has been delivering packages for places like Amazon, Amazon being the biggest, but with many other retailers. And they've actually been able to negotiate pretty good rates, making up for some of the losses they've had with first-class mail. So, there's a lot going on here, and I think the president was being a little sloppy in trying to blame the post office's financial woes on Amazon.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And one thing about the U.S. Post Office, too, is that they're mandated to deliver mail to every single mailbox in the U.S., which is a monument. Yeah. It's interesting because the post office, I do think when you kind of take a step back and think of, it's kind of strange, the situation we have today. You think about everything that happens and all of these businesses that take care of needs and services we have, and they take care of it for, somehow we're able to have, services for people living in cities, and so that everybody gets services in cities, then also people who live in rural areas. The post office is kind of an anomaly. And in a way, it's kind of a throwback. The post office has had a legal monopoly. Nobody else is allowed to carry a first-class letter. That is only the post office job. It's mandated by law right now, which is kind of bizarre. Which is why FedEx and UPS and some of the DHL, those have to kind of are in a different business model. You're not supposed to use them just for the plain old delivery of a standard mail. And and the post office does, part of the kind of the ethic of the post office is that they're going to take every piece of mail and they're going to deliver to every single mailbox. They're only going to charge one rate for that first class stamp. All of which sounds kind of nice, but it's created a whole lot of problems. You think about this. The post office has in its employment over 600,000 people. I guess that's just kind of an astonishing number of folks for this kind of mundane task, and there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation over time. And not only is that a whole lot of employees, those employees come with tremendous costs. These aren't just the employees like other companies have a lot of employees. These are unionized workers who have command a pretty impressive salaries and even more impressive benefits. The post office is paying billions of dollars. I think the last year was $6 billion just in retirement costs. So this is a really big enterprise, and that's kind of a big burden for the post office.
Yeah, Congress mandated that the Postal Service prepay over the next decade all healthcare and retirement benefits. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's in some ways I appreciate that Congress is really trying to make the post office more financially kind of responsible and pre-fund some of those benefits, which so often now states and localities and the government will promise enormous benefits. It's really easy to give away in a new union negotiation, say, oh, we're going to, we'll pay you this much today, and then, we'll pay you even more tomorrow, because they don't have to deal with the accounting of that tomorrow, those future payments. But the taxpayers do, and it creates a big problem because all of a sudden the taxpayers are on the hook for something they didn't really understand, and the workers are expecting to get this benefit. So you have this really tough position. That's what we have with a whole lot of government systems right now are facing this problem. We've seen that's the problem is facing state governments in Illinois and in other places where they have really bad unfunded liabilities for their state workers. Well, the post office has a problem like that. So, I think that the bottom line is we need to, I think instead of thinking about, blaming Amazon or blaming some of these retailers who are really creating a lifeline for the post office and using the one service that the post office is able to perform profitably, we need to be thinking about more comprehensive reforms. It doesn't really make sense for us to have a government, letter delivery entity. I think the answer is no, and we should be starting to think about how to roll that back. Obviously, there's good business in delivering things like this. There is a way; it has to be a way to do it. We just need to take a fresh look at this issue.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, why the heck do we have the government controlling the Postal Service and micromanaging how we deliver our mail in the first place? Some are calling for privatization, giving it freedom to innovate, as you talked about. How do you agree with this? Would this be an idea for reform?
Absolutely. I think that's really the place to start. Is we should be thinking about how to get the government out of the business of delivering the mail. But there's a lot of steps along the way. This has been done in other countries. I think that it could be done here. The post office does have, in addition to a lot of liabilities, it does have a lot of assets, including a whole lot of property around the country. So there's got to be a way for them to make this work. But I just hope that as we think about the future of the post office, there's also strange things where you have the post office hands are tied. To change the amount that they can charge for a piece of mail, they have to have an approval for a rate increase from a separate commission. So that makes it tough. These guys are working under very constrained circumstances. But I think these are the conversations we have to be having. We've got to be figuring out what to do with those, with all of the workers, and thinking to bring those benefits in line, figure out a way to pay all those liabilities, and really figure out what makes sense for the future. But I hope it requires a big conversation and a lot of real deep thought. And I just hope we don't kind of resort to scapegoating.
Yeah. I love the last line in your Forbes piece that you wrote recently about this. And you said it's not the businesses that are abusing the system and shortchanging taxpayers, but the government-created system itself that is the real problem. I think that kind of sums up what we're talking about here. And I was also reading last night a few other things that you had written on postal reform, and this one actually made me laugh. You said, this was a couple of years ago, you may not even remember, but you said, quote, "There is simply no reason in the modern age that we need a government monopoly to handle delivering Pottery Barn catalogs."
Yeah, well, it is kind of silly when you think of how things would change. If the post office is delivering, and you talk about who's getting a good deal from the post office, and there's a lot of you look in your mailbox, and often, I know this is how it happens for me, I look in it, there's a big wad of paper in there, and 9 out of every 10 things are absolute garbage, and I barely scan what they are, and there may be one letter in there.
The occasional wedding invitation, right?
Exactly. But I think that there's a whole lot of people who have been subsidized, businesses that have been subsidized to send mailers and kind of what we consider junk mail. And that's something you think, what are we doing here? Why are we kind of supporting that system that just clutters our mailboxes? It's funny, there was somebody else wrote about on this whole Amazon thing, that the thing that to keep in mind when we're talking about this is that the post office needs Amazon and these online retailers who are increasingly using the post office to deliver packages and paying them to deliver packages way more than those retailers need them. Those retailers could turn easily to another form of delivery, and some of them are looking to. If the post office starts trying to charge them too much, hey, they'll figure something else out. But it's the post office that's really would be hurt if they lost that revenue. So that's another thing to keep in mind. They can't just start jacking up prices, because those online retailers will take their business elsewhere.
Absolutely. Well, I think this has been an interesting conversation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Carrie, thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. For more information on this and many other topics, please come visit us at IWF.org, where all issues are women's issues.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please give it a thumbs up, share it on social media, or stop by IWF.org for similar content.